Apple Daily, Hong Kong's last pro-democracy newspaper, has officially closed up shop after operating for more than 2 decades. The liberal news outlet, which has been critical of Hong Kong leaders and Beijing, was forced to shut down operations after the Chinese government froze its financial assets last week. Police then raided Apple Daily's headquarters and arrested the editor-in-chief and 4 top executives. The newspaper's founder, Jimmy Lai, was arrested last August. Ramy Inocencio has been following this story and joins me now from Hong Kong with the latest. Ramy, thanks so much for joining us to talk about this. Your coverage that we saw earlier in the week of the final day inside the newsroom there was just heartbreaking. You really sort of brought across the sense of how much is being lost professionally and personally. You were the only U.S. broadcaster inside Apple Daily's newsroom on Monday evening as the company streamed its last digital news program. What was the atmosphere like?
Sure, Anne-Marie. The atmosphere was basically attending a wake for someone's funeral. I was speaking with so many employees inside the newsroom, and during the interviews, some people were starting to cry, tear up. There wasn't so much of a sense of joy in talking to most of the people there. There was also a sense of fear because being associated with Apple Daily, which was really the last pro-democracy newspaper here in Hong Kong, people didn't want to be tainted in order to find another job or maybe be targeted by the government. Now, with that said, later on that Monday evening, it sort of turned into a kind of, I don't want to say party, but maybe a kind of celebration because people started to clap, pat themselves on the back, smile, take selfies. And I talked to a couple folks then and they said, you know, we have had so many good memories here working for a cause that we believe is just, and we don't want to end on a sad note. People also tried to fight back tears, and they said that they were proud of what they did and that they were trying not to be afraid. So some kind of celebration, some kind of resoluteness, but also clearly sadness.
Yeah, it's just a range, a mix of emotions for sure. And you can understand they should feel incredibly gratified doing work that has been so impactful. How about the supporters of the news outlet in Hong Kong? How are they reacting?
Sure. I think that the resoluteness that I felt in the newsroom did translate onto the streets. Last night, around this time, our CBS News team went outside Apple Daily's headquarters, and we thought that there might be a couple journalists, a couple cameras out there setting up shots, but it turned out that there were a few hundred supporters waving their cameras with their phones lit up at the windows of Apple Daily. And the longer that we were there, I think we got there around 10:30 p.m. or so, the longer we were there through the night, more and more people came. Several hundred people came. I almost want to say maybe even over 1,000 people had been coming in and out over the evening. They were yelling to people, to staffers of Apple Daily who were on the roof, and they were shining their own lights. And the people next to us, they were saying, Apple Daily, thank you, in Cantonese. And then people on the roof, they were saying readers, thank you so much for your support. We saw people there who were crying as well, but people just wanted to give a sense of a salute, some respect to Apple Daily that they saw as their last bastion for their own personal voice. And many of those people there told me that now they could no longer believe any other newspapers here, in addition to fight back against the rising power of Beijing and the Communist Party.
So Apple Daily has asked the government to unfreeze at least some of their assets, their funds, so they can pay these people their final paycheck. Any update on that?
Sure. Because Apple Daily has now ceased operations, I think the point is pretty moot. But with that said, Apple Daily, before their closure, had said that they were looking ahead to Friday for some kind of unfreezing of their assets. Now, the government last week, had frozen $2.3 million of their assets. Now, if the government had unfrozen that, then they could have paid their staff number and about 1,300 people or so, a lot of folks there. The fact that they couldn't pay them meant that they were being employed illegally, against the law, obviously, so that's why they had to shut down. The idea that the government could unfreeze tomorrow or later on, I suppose it's a possibility, but the fact that Apple Daily has on its website said they've closed down, stopped new subscriptions, and all of their social media has gone dark, is no longer being updated. It seems like it doesn't really matter if the government will unfreeze. And to be frank, most people at Apple Daily and across Hong Kong don't think that the government would ever have done that anyways.
So, in the lead up here, we said that the founder of the newspaper, Jimmy Lai, has been in custody since last August. And what I thought was, I wonder how unexpected this move was. And so I'll ask you, were there indications that this was coming?
Yes, there was. Last year, June 30th, 2020, Beijing pushed through this controversial national security law. It made several topics a violation of the law. One of them included collusion with foreign forces. Basically, Jimmy Lai, the 72-year-old founder now in prison, he's accused of colluding with foreign governments, basically asking other countries to come in and sanction the leaders of Hong Kong and China. Now, when that law was passed, a lot of people thought, Jimmy Lai and other pro-democracy activists, as well as pro-democracy politicians, would be targeted. And we've seen ever since then, coming up on the one-year anniversary, we're just a couple days away from June 30th this year, that there has been this sweep, this deep sweep across the pro-democracy movement here, where journalists, politicians, academics, even teachers have all been targeted. And the fear is that this is only going to get even worse.
Really sad, but I'm glad that you were there to capture those final moments, really sort of historic moments, Ramy. Thank you very much.